The surprised girl asked if Lars really didn't want to be an adventurer anymore. The boy recognized his complete lack of skills and abilities to be an excellent warrior. The girl agreed, because people often said that Lars had no special talent, but this was not news to the guy, because he himself understood the real reasons. Although earlier Lars certainly dreamed of meeting friends with whom he could overcome great adventures and be together as a team, wanted to trust people and feel their support. Lars always dreamed of something like that and tried to be a responsive and trusting person, especially for beautiful girls. But none of this worked and Lars became disappointed in many ways. And if you want to learn about the adventures of this guy, then you just have to finish the clip to the end and subscribe to the channel. A huge monster was chasing the adventurer, intent on tearing him apart. The distance gradually decreased, because the speed of the boar was much faster than the speed of Lars. But the monster collapsed to the ground, for his leg was tightly bound with a rope. Lars hit the ground painfully and decided that now it was up to Rain. Just at that moment the boy was already rushing at his opponent with a wild shout. Rain wasted no time in attacking the wild boar with his axe, trying to hit its defenseless back. But the terrible creature tried to resist and fight for its life. The wild boar unbelievably escaped from Lars' grasp and then pounced on Rain, grabbing his axe tightly with its teeth. The situation would have been critical if not for the brave girl who instantly struck a cleaving blow with her sword. Immediately after that, the huge body of the shaggy monster felt the sharp arrow, and Rain continued to strike with his axe. One of the powerful blows was a decisive blow to the head, which was able to shatter the super strong skull of the wild boar. After a few seconds, the wild boar took its last breath and did not move again. The adventurer team had won their new victory and everyone was happy with the result. Rain congratulated his team, which was called the Salt Wings, because they had managed to complete their next mission and now they would be rewarded with a great reward. One of the girls reminded that they would soon reach C rank thanks to this result. Lars was very pleased with this success, although he felt insecure. Lars immediately remembered how much they had traveled together in the last 3 years, and now another victory over a big monster was another proof of teamwork. Lars genuinely loved his partners and of course trusted them. But none of the team showed any reciprocal feelings and all just silently thought about what they had long ago decided behind the back of the naive guy. One of the girls spoke first and said that this was the last joint task and from this day Lars was expelled from the team and had no right to be called a member of the Salt Wings. The archer explained that they were all aiming for the top of the adventurer's path and should not stop and linger. Lars didn't understand what was going on and also reminded of his ambition to reach the top of the heights with everyone else. But Rain angrily bellowed back that everyone wanted to grow in rank and status, and Lars was still a second-rate warrior compared to the others, even after 3 years, and all he can do is dodge and bait monsters. Lars's lack of skills and talents means that he's just slowing down the development of the team, even though they are grateful for his service. But now his time is up. Lars was saddened by this decision of the team and thought about why he joined and wasted his time as a member of this group. After that, the guy went to the Adventurers Guild in a terrible depression. Lars had always considered his partners as real friends, but now everything had changed and he had to start all over again. Lars of course realized that despite all the exhausting training, his strength and stamina had not increased at all. So he tried to be useful by carrying things and loads, as well as always acting as a decoy. But it didn't matter anymore. The administrator girl Mina reminded him that they lived in a world where the strong ate the weak and therefore they should always treat people with caution. Lars agreed with the girl, because he had always been a naive and trusting guy. Mina asked if Lars had already decided on his new job, but he was so worried about his expulsion from the team that he hadn't made up his mind yet. Mina suggested to check Lars' compatibility with different abilities, because it had been 3 years and his perception might have changed. As it turned out, this was the first time Lars had heard of the possibility to check his compatibility. It was possible to take an elementary test at the guild for suitability for any job. Mina was surprised by such stupidity and grabbed the guy's hand and decided to do it immediately, despite Lars' hesitation. The girl was curious to know Lars' abilities. As a result, in a few minutes Lars found himself in a small room and sat in a soft chair waiting for Mina to bring the head of the Adventurers Guild. The elderly man explained that most likely for some reason they had skipped the compatibility check step during Lars' registration. That said, there was no need to worry, for if Lars had not shown the aptitude to become a warrior, perhaps he would discover new talents within himself. Why the man offered to put both hands on the magic ball. Everyone was very curious to know what kind of talents Lars would be able to manifest. After a few seconds the magic ball began to show activity, and something strange appeared inside it. Lars didn't understand anything at all, and then was frightened and surprised when the beautiful Mina literally jumped on the man and shouted that it was impossible. The guild leader was shocked by the girl's violent reaction, especially since he could not remember a time when he was in such a situation. But Mina continued to sit on the man and stated that Lars was best suited for magic. Lars decided he had heard what he heard and asked the girl to repeat herself. Mina calmed down a bit and still left the guild leader alone, explained that Lars could safely use magical abilities. As it turned out, Lars had a high compatibility rank for magical abilities, which he had not even known about before. And now it was a real revelation for the insecure Lars. The guild branch head, Mina, as well as the head guildmaster apologized to Lars sincerely on behalf of the entire guild. The guildmaster suggested that the guy and slowly apply to the magic guild, and he would personally warn Lars about the visit. After all, only there will be able to teach him all the magical abilities in order for him to become a first-class wizard. Just an hour ago, Lars could not imagine that he could be a real wizard, and now he was going to the Magic Guild with special recommendations. As it turned out, because of a bureaucratic error 3 years ago, Lars was registered as an ordinary warrior, and he could have spent all this time on improving his magical abilities. But in spite of his high fitness for magic, Lars did not expect anything good from his new job. After all, he had heard how wizards could at least get by on their own, and being alone was probably difficult. Soon the guy found himself at the huge building of the Magic Guild and wondered how he hadn't even noticed this place before. It was also doubtful that he would be believed in such a silly story, because how could he not notice his abilities for 3 years? The huge door creaked open and Lars felt the strange aura that greeted him in the uncharted room. A few seconds later, a girl appeared and welcomed Lars to the Magic Guild. As it turned out, the girl had already known in advance about Lars' visit and called him Platinum Boy. The stranger's piercing gaze startled Lars, and it seemed to him that this girl was not too happy about his appearance. The girl then introduced herself as Michelle and explained that she was a priest in this guild. But after taking a first look at the guy, Michelle stated that with all due respect he was hardly a platinum. Lars started to get even more worried and realized that he didn't impress the demanding lady in any way. But then Michelle asked Lars not to worry, because all this could be a trivial mistake and therefore it would be better to make a more thorough analysis of magic abilities. A few minutes later, Michelle led Lars to the beginner's training area and suggested using magic to shoot a dummy. Michelle asked him to repeat the movements exactly after her, but Lars got scared and started talking about how he had never used magic before and had no idea what to do. But Michelle asked not to worry, because at any beginning magician everything will definitely work out, if he certainly has talent and pronounces the right words. But in any case, Lars should realize that he hardly possesses platinum level, and only few wizards manage to reach such a level. At this moment, Lars again felt the familiar stare of people who usually judge his abilities by his appearance. It was unbearable to feel it, because it brought only disappointment and resentment. Lars just wanted to forget all the troubles and try to start his life over again, because he didn't want to be humiliated and neglected anymore. Michelle began to concentrate and recite a special spell, and then showed a gesture with which to gather magical flames. The girl explained that thanks to such a method it was possible to give the magic power a shape, and after that you can direct the concentrated magic power in the form of a fireball at the enemies. Lars decided that it was not so difficult, because Michelle had done everything quickly, and looked at his hands. Lars started to repeat the same thing that Michelle did a few minutes ago and felt as if his blood was flowing out of his fingers. The guy thought that he was losing his magic power, which meant that nothing would work. But gradually his hand began to create something bright like a fireball, and finally Lars threw it forward. Michelle almost lost her glasses from surprise, because she didn't expect such abilities from an insecure guy. The fireball instantly increased 10 times in size and turned into a terrifying magical weapon that was extremely hot. A few seconds later, the unbridled power of the fireball shattered the roof of the Magic Guild and burst outwards, followed by a deafening explosion. A shocked Michelle stammered and asked what Lars had even done, but the guy was so scared and excited that he only shouted back that he was just repeating the girl's words. But as it turned out, Lars did not stop the spell and carelessly waved his hand to create another fireball, which began to blaze right in the room. Michelle demanded to immediately reduce the power of the spell, but of course Lars didn't know how to do it. The guy trying to get rid of the fireball launched it upwards, trying to stop all this madness, because he became very scared to control such a huge magical power. The fireball, endowed with immense magical power, flew so high that it seemed to reach the sky, causing a strange effect. After reaching the ultimate height, the magic ball exploded, disturbing the peace of the entire city, and the blast wave echoed heavily on the windows and ears of the locals. Some realized that there had been an explosion. Only the cause and source of it was unknown. Lars, meanwhile, looked fearfully at his hand and tried to realize what had happened. Michelle shrieked with joy at the adrenaline rush and praised Lars for his incredible magical abilities, because everything that was said about him turned out to be true. The girl confessed that she had never met anyone with such an entry-level spell power before, which meant that Lars had above-average skills. And if done right, one could become a powerful sage with such abilities. Michelle apologized for her initial incredulity, and then offered to immediately sign the papers to join the Magic Guild. While the excited girl was looking for fresh ink, Lars suddenly realized that his former doubts had instantly disappeared. At the same time, a strange sensation in his body caused his body to tremble, and his right hand was still warm and vibrated strangely from the magical tension. Lars realized that he had definitely encountered a magical power he had never dealt with before, even though this was only the first spell he had created. The lad figured that all of this would allow him to open up vast possibilities before him, though he had no idea what a platinum man meant or what it was like to be a sage. But despite the many unknowns, Lars still decided to sign the papers to join the Magic Guild. Thus, without expecting it himself, insecure Lars abruptly changed his profession and started on the path of mastering magical abilities. Having corrected her glasses, Michelle quickly checked the documents and then announced the completion of registration. The girl radiated joy and admitted that she was looking forward to working together with Lars. The guy tried to realize what he was now facing and decided that he would finally be able to work alone, because with such abilities he would be able to defend himself effectively. Michelle then asked to come back in 3 days. Lars thought that the girl needed to prepare the documents, but as it turned out the girl just wanted to introduce Lars to her mentor. Lars did not expect this and realized that immediately after his decision to become a magician he faced a social obstacle, because it was difficult to get used to such a drastic change. In the end, 3 days later Lars met the blue-haired beauty Tesla, who promised to look after Lars from that day on and teach him the skills of magic. Lars introduced himself to Tesla and was a little disappointed, because he had hoped to have no further contact with anyone. The girl answered with restraint and kept thinking about something. Lars did not expect to see such a mentor, because it seemed to him that wizards work alone. Michelle asked Tesla not to embarrass Lars and to be more sociable, because she would confuse the young man. Michelle reminded about the rules of propriety and asked her mentor to explain to Lars that now they are in the same group and should socialize. After all, you can't be so shy when meeting someone for the first time and tediously realize that the first impression is the most important thing in a relationship. Lars was worried and asked Michelle not to rush things, as he already noticed discontent on Tesla's face. But then the girl mentor still decided to communicate and approached the guy with a proposal to join the group, as his abilities would be very useful to her. Michelle laughed at this moment and said that Tesla spoke too unnaturally, as if she was a completely different person. But Michelle's laughter further embarrassed the new partners and they both blushed even more. Michelle advised Lars to be more confident, because in any case the newcomer needs someone to bring him up to speed, which means he and Tesla need to get along well. But the guy was not laughing, because he really didn't know if he could get used to his new partner. After being introduced to Tesla, Lars was given a special cloak that signified the completion of registration and final entry into the Magic Guild. Michelle praised the guy and stated that this cloak looked great on him. Then the girl explained that all wizards in the guild are divided into ranks, which are indicated by the color of their cloak. For example, Tesla's cloak is black in color and it means that she owns the highest S rank. Beginners get a white cloak, as well as yellow E rank, C rank green, B rank purple, and a rank red. Lars was very surprised that a fragile and young girl like Tesla was already able to reach the very top and receive a black cloak. Tesla advised Lars not to judge a person only by his appearance, and then confessed that she was very curious to get to know him better. Lars became even more confused and felt as if Tesla had seen right through him. Tesla explained that that explosion at the Magic Guild wasn't like a normal fireball at all. The guy didn't expect at all that his first display of magical power had impressed the experienced sorceress so much. Then Tesla said goodbye to Michelle and asked Lars to follow her, as he needed to find a suitable task as soon as possible. In a few minutes Lars found himself near the board with announcements among the other wizards, who looked at Tesla and the company of the newcomer with interest. Eventually the girl spectacularly jumped up, as usual pleasing the guys nearby, and picked up one of the task sheets from the bulletin board. As it turned out, the girl mentor chose the task of destroying a huge forest dragon, and it caused panic and surprise to Lars. The boy reminded the girl that he had just conceded to the Magic Guild. but Tesla advised not to worry because she would be there to take care of everything. The girl promised that it would all be easy, and in any case you have to start somewhere in order to develop. Before meeting with the client, Tesla decided to give the first lesson and asked if Lars knew anything about the magic system, but the guy shook his head negatively, making it clear that it was the first time he had heard of it. Tesla explained that it was the most important thing that all wizards should know about. Tesla asked to sit down and close your eyes, and then try to realize your magical power inside your body. And you need to visualize the blood flowing inside, and after that you need to focus on every single cell of the body. And you have to keep focusing on your power and try to control it. Lars admitted that he could really feel himself getting warmer. Tesla praised the boy for his first success and then asked him to try to gather all the heat of his body in one place. The tension was increasing and Lars was even afraid, because it seemed to him that because of the overstrain he would simply lose consciousness. Tesla noticed how Lars gathered energy too much and offered to put. Then the girl advised Lars to visualize his body sweating. The guy tried his best and Tesla liked it. After Lars managed to get rid of the excess magical energy, he felt much better and calmer. Tesla was delighted with the guy's abilities, because before she thought she was strong, but she couldn't compare to Lars. The girl praised Lars, but it caused only laughter in the insecure guy and he thought it was a joke. But the girl looked serious, against the background of how Lars was happy about his success and incredible lightness in his body. Tesla explained that it is generally believed that the accumulation of magical power makes a person stronger. But it seems that since Lars has too much of it, it makes him weaker on the contrary. Lars was surprised and asked if he couldn't get stronger during training just because he had too much magic power. Tesla wasn't sure for sure, but still suggested that it was possible. Lars was astonished by this discovery, because he had never thought before that the reason for his weakness was because he had too much magic power. And if it was true, then he had wasted the last 3 years of his life, because he was not doing what he should have been doing. But Tesla advised not to worry, because it is not too late for him to start over, and those 3 years he spent as a warrior will definitely be useful. After all, it was possible that there would come a time when strength would be more important than ability, and then he would be able to use his experience as a warrior. And if he combines his experience as a warrior with his unique magical training, he can become even stronger in the end, because the main thing is to believe in your potential and move forward. Lars remembered the last 3 years with sadness, because he did not want to be deceived and betrayed again. But everything Tesla had told him was true and there was nothing left but to believe it. Then the girl reminded him that it was time to fight the dragon, although Lars hoped to the last moment that it would not happen. Thus after a while they reached the village of Tanya. In addition to slaying the dragon, the village headman asked to search for the missing group of people and promised a generous reward. As it turned out, the group that had been sent to watch the dragon had still not returned. That being said, the village elder approached the group of adventurers directly, rather than through the guild, in order to protect the village's medicinal herb supplies as soon as possible. Tesla agreed that this was quite a tricky situation, because if the guild found out about how the elder had acted, he would be in serious trouble. The girl asked to tell more about the group of adventurers who had disappeared, at least to specify the name of the team and their rank. The elder, after thinking for a while, said that the missing group of adventurers was called the Salt Wings. This shocked Lars and he choked on his sweet drink, surprising Tesla. Meanwhile, the elder went on to say that there were 2 men and 2 beautiful girls in that group and apparently they all possessed C rank. Tesla agreed to help, but explained that there would be an additional fee, which the village elder immediately agreed to. Tesla asked why Lars had taken the news about his former team so harshly. The boy admitted his negative memories of his past partners and explained that he didn't really want to meet them. Tesla reminded about the evil dragon that could eat them, but the guy immediately explained that he doesn't wish that fate on anyone. Tesla then inquired about the girls in the Salt Wings group. Lars, she said about never forgetting about in their makeup, even when they went out to fight monsters. This pleased Tesla and she slammed her staff to the ground. A few minutes later, a stunning golem in the shape of a wolf appeared. Tesla immediately explained that if there was even the slightest scent of makeup in this forest, this creature would immediately find the girls without much trouble. The summoned creature instantly smelled the right trail and hurried in the right direction, and the girl decided to keep up with the golem. But after a few minutes, Tesla remembered that she had forgotten to teach Lars to strengthen his body, and now he was simply unable to move at such a fast pace. Tesla advised to concentrate on the flow of his own magical power, and then Lars should slowly accelerate this flow. And when this magical flow begins to flow freely, one should imagine that it is bursting outwards. Lars exactly followed all the recommendations of his mentor and felt his body literally burning. But it was a pleasant sensation and felt strong. Then Tesla suggested to the guy to try to jump, and Lars suddenly made a jump, which ended with a painful fall. Lars was thrilled with his new capabilities and asked how Tesla did it. But the girl explained that it was due to Lars' magical power, and it was perfectly normal that his movements were so clumsy, since it was the first time he had used such an ability. But then Tesla became alert and felt something terrible approaching, and after a few minutes heavy footsteps were heard. The dragon was really huge, and Tesla assumed that judging by its size this monster was about 1,000 years old. Then the girl asked if Lars was ready to destroy the enemy. But the guy did not want to fight against this huge monster and offered to go in search of the lost group of adventurers. Such a desire surprised Tesla, because not long ago Lars did not want to meet with former companions. This situation stumped the guy and he did not know how to act. But the girl immediately reminded that the main task is to kill the dragon, and the search for missing adventurers can be done later. Tesla waved her magic staff and promised to stop the movement of the monster, and then asked for help to the spirits corrupted by sins, which should get into this mortal world and show their power. After a few minutes, Tesla was able to summon 7 demons who instantly attacked the ancient dragon. After the main attack on the monster occurred, Tesla ordered Lars to enter the battle and summon lightning and finish off the dragon. The guy didn't waste any time and started to create a magical lightning bolt. A few seconds later, an electric discharge of immense force pierced the sky and struck the ancient dragon. Immediately after that there was a deafening explosion, which almost tore off Tesla's light clothes and shrouded everything around with dense dust. Tesla praised the guy for a great job, because she expected nothing less from her student. Lars was delighted with his deed, because he managed to destroy a huge monster with the help of his magical abilities. Tesla was pleased with the result and praised herself for choosing such a target as a training monster. After all, if she had chosen something harder, there might have been other consequences. The girl then noticed that the dragon appeared to be female. Lars did not know what this meant and looked questioningly at Tesla. The girl immediately realized that since this female had lived for more than 1,000 years, it meant that she was not alone and had a pair. And the male must be even bigger. Tesla's assumption was justified, and an even bigger dragon did appear nearby. The powerful creature flapped its wings and hurriedly gained altitude. Tesla ordered to immediately pursue the dragon and not let it get away. But Lars was fascinated by something else, because powerful wind currents lifted Tesla's skirt, and the guy realized that in addition to the black cloak was attached and black elegant underwear. As it turned out, the male dragon was weaker than the female, not looking at the size, but the lack of strength males make up for with shrewdness, and so catching up with him would not be very easy. After a few minutes of chasing, Tesla asked if Lars was alright, for his face was too red. The guy explained that he was still not used to this mode of his body, but Tesla advised not to worry, because Lars is a very fast learner. Lars, meanwhile, still couldn't believe in his new magical abilities, because for 3 years he had considered himself a weakling and a loser. The male dragon was still hovering in the air, and would not descend as he tried to prevent his pursuers from discovering his lair. Tesla explained that dragons were very long-lasting creatures and difficult to hunt. Tesla brought up the missing group of adventurers. If those people found the dragon's lair and treasure, it could turn out very badly for them. Lars recognized that his former colleagues would definitely go into the cave to find the treasure, for they were very greedy people. Soon following the summoned golem, they managed to find the dragon's lair. Lars had already forgotten about the mighty wolf, which as it turned out did not disappear anywhere, and it made him worried. But Tesla decided not to back down and headed for the huge cave. Slowly and cautiously making their way into the dark room of the cave, the vile animal odor of the huge dragons could be smelled, which only added to the wizard's excitement. Tesla decided that they could find in this cave with huge treasures, or quite possibly stumble upon the corpses of the members of Team Salty Wings. Gradually the cave was getting darker, and Lars decided to use his magic to create a small torch that lit the way quite nicely. But Tesla was against it and explained that Lars still couldn't control the power of her spells, and so it would be safer if she lit the way herself. The girl explained that this cave was very fragile, and if too much force was used, it would surely collapse. Lars looked around the huge cave with interest, for it was the first time he had been in a dragon's lair. Tesla constantly warned Lars of the danger and advised him to watch his feet. As it turned out, this advice was justified, and after a few meters the boy came to the edge of the cliff. Tesla noticed a rope stretched across the abyss and realized that there were already people here and suggested to move on. The girl easily followed forward, just walking on the rope. Lars started to cling and crawl, but the fear of falling was so strong that Lars could not move on. Tesla decided to help the guy and just took him in her arms and continued on the thin rope. but the girl continued to carry Lars and further into the cave. The guy was worried and embarrassed by this and asked Tesla to let him go to the ground after all. After a while, a glint became visible ahead and it turned out to be a huge treasure. But then there was an explosion. Lars was surprised to see the girl Rira from the Salt Wings team. Everyone else thought that someone had come to rescue him. The members of the Salty Wings team didn't expect to see Lars, but the guy explained that now he changed his profession and chose the path of magic. Ruru thought that Lars also came for treasure like them, but Tesla told about how they were sent to rescue a team of misfits, and also to kill a huge dragon. Rain laughed and called it complete nonsense, because how could a loser Lars along with a girl do such a thing? These words hurt Lars, but he was able to contain his emotions. Tesla offered to follow them and only this way they could get out of the cave. Ruru was immediately indignant and called it a stupid idea, because there might be a dragon waiting for them there. Tesla replied that it was stupid to stay in the cave forever and ignore their chance to escape, and if they met a dragon, Lars would help them destroy it. Ruru decided it was all a joke, which meant Lars would once again act as bait and check the safety of the path. After all, it had always been like this for 3 years. Lars realized that these people had not changed at all and decided to go ahead. But Tesla asked not to hurry. The girl asked that whether the members of the team Salty Wings want to sacrifice their former friend Lars, considering it a stupid joke. Ruru did not admit fault and replied that Lars was a man and should always go ahead. Tesla suggested to send Rain forward in that case, but Ruru called him very important for the team and therefore he should not be risked. Tesla called Lars an important man too, but Lena disagreed and called Lars a useless weakling who is only meant to be a live bait. Tesla stated that Lars is not weak at all and he is much better than all the members of Team Salty Wings. This caused laughter and Lena recalled how Lars couldn't even defeat a regular goblin, and they had to constantly rescue him from even the simplest of situations. Oh, and in general Lars was constantly carrying everyone else's stuff and was just a hindrance to the whole team's development. Tesla replied that although Lars was not the strongest warrior, he had outstanding abilities as a mage. No one of course believed that Lars had become a strong mage so quickly. Rain called Tesla a liar, because Lars has never shown any magical abilities before, and these fictions only cause laughter. Lars calmly listened to the insults from people who had always judged him and did not see him as an equal. Lars demanded that they stop saying mean things about him, because they always judge people by their strength, and all these ranks are just meaningless nonsense. Lars asked why none of his former teammates had ever thought about what kind of person he could be. No one could answer that question and everyone just pretended not to hear Lars. Suddenly a monster got behind Lars' back and Tesla tried to immediately warn the guy about the danger. The dragon approached very quietly and no one noticed him until he appeared. The whole team Salty Wings rushed to run away. Tesla explained to Lars that this was a great chance to show his magic power and he should deal with the dragon. The guy was scared, because last time Tesla stopped the dragon's movement and everything seemed easier. The girl suggested that Lars maximize his magic power and try to hit the dragon with the strongest fireball and lightning. But he had to be very careful not to bring the whole cave down on his head. Lars was in a stupor and tried to remind himself to create the fireball and lightning. Tesla gave the guy a little tug on his sleeve, slightly surprising him with such an act. The girl apologized for saying too much to his former friends instead of him. Lars replied that it was okay, especially all of Tesla's words were absolutely right, and there was no need to apologize for them. Tesla reminded him once again that 3 years as a warrior had not gone to waste for Lars, and now he had to show his former friends his true strength. These words motivated Lars and went towards the dragon. In doing so, the guy turned to the team Salty Wings, offering them a look at the new Lars, who will never wear their stuff again. The young wizard maximized his powers before beginning and then began to create a fireball. The dragon, using his shrewdness, decided to interfere with this and instantly attacked the guy. But Lars deftly dodged and decided to test the power of his blow. The young wizard's blow was incredibly strong and the dragon's powerful jaw crunched loudly. The astonished members of the Salt Wings team could not believe what they had seen, for they could not have imagined such a thing. Lars felt confident and decided it was time to use his magical powers to destroy the terrible monster and show what he had become. The ancient dragon wasn't going to give up without a serious fight and tried to blow his opponent away, but Lars was able to withstand the onslaught of the squalling wind. All of this was like a manifestation of the wind spirit, with which the dragon could easily blow away all of its huge treasures. But Lars quickly delivered a kick to the dragon's head, trying to break its advantage. But the dragon didn't forget his tail and made a lightning strike at his opponent. Lars was unable to anticipate such a swift lunge and only flew off to the side. Landing hard on a hard surface, Lars realized that if it wasn't for his magical body enhancement, he would have broken all his bones and would hardly be able to get back on his feet. All the members of the Salt Wings team could not take their eyes off Lars, who continued to amaze them with his incredible abilities. Meanwhile, the battle continued and it was still not clear who was winning. Lars asked why Tesla was doing absolutely nothing in this difficult situation, but the girl reminded that it was all part of the training for Lars and so she would not interfere in any way or even use defense spells. Tesla decided that in this situation she should play the role of a fragile and frightened girl waiting to be rescued. Lars realized that Tesla didn't want to change her original plan after all. Meanwhile, the dragon decided to still destroy the enemy and free his lair. The dragon's shot almost hit Lars, but still the guy was able to dodge. Lars decided to defeat the monster as quickly as possible, although he realized that he couldn't use the strongest spells and had to think of something else. Meanwhile, the dragon continued to attack and Lars decided to do something else, since he can't use powerful spells against the dragon. He tried to get as close to the enemy as possible to deprive the dragon of maneuvering and attacking with its tail. Lars began to strike the dragon hardest, trying to use spells inside the dragon so as not to disturb the integrity of the cave. After a few minutes, Lars was able to achieve the result, and the dragon was destroyed by an explosion from within. The huge monster let out its death roar and collapsed to the ground, marking the young wizard's first victory. Tesla decided that Lars had been very wise to adapt his fighting style in this small area. That being said, Tesla decided that perhaps Michelle would not be happy with this result. But Lars reminded the girl that she herself had said on the way to this cave that one should not use magic powers as much as possible, so as not to be detected. Tesla agreed, because she was well aware that Lars really cannot control his magical abilities. Tesla thanked Lars for the task and praised him for his excellent work. Tesla explained that Lars would now be known as the one and only Dragon Slayer Wizard. The boy was embarrassed by such a high-profile nickname and reminded him that he still had a very long way to go to perfection. Lars explained that he didn't really know how to fight and use his magical abilities properly yet. Tesla replied that this was Lars' own wish, and therefore he must succeed in his endeavor. Then the girl suggested that he should return to the Magic Guild to start the next training. Lars was surprised, because now he saw a smile on Tesla's face for the first time. Suru exclaimed that Lars' victory was amazing and he was so cool that she had changed her mind and no longer considered him a useless loser. The girl grabbed Lars' hand and suggested that he immediately return the Salt Wings and then they could reach S rank together through magic power. This came as a surprise to Lars, although it didn't cause any warm feelings. Lars of course refused the offer, because he didn't want to return to the place where he was considered a real scum. Lena also started to persuade him and promised that it would be fun together, and that Suru might even show some feelings. Suru promised Lars an absolutely equal share of the reward, and also he would never have to do all the dirty work on the team again. Lars once again tried to explain that he was not interested in this offer, because he had already entered the Magical Academy and did not want to return to the status of an ordinary adventurer warrior. Besides, there is no desire to return to the team that treated him very badly. Suru started to explain that they had no other choice before, but it all seemed very silly and implausible. Suru then reminded Lars later how he had failed to protect her and apparently because of that he had been treated like an outsider. But she was ready to forget and forgive everything. Lars only grinned back and thanked the girl for such revelations. Lena rushed to Ruru's aid and the two of them tried to persuade Lars to forget the past offenses and start a new life together, because it was so wonderful to be with two charming girls. The girls started whispering and promising Lars various pleasures that he could think of, and for that he only needed to return to the team. Lars was indignant at such obscene innuendos and felt his face begin to blush. But the girls continued to be persistent and pressed even harder against the excited guy. But Lars suddenly pushed the girls aside and ordered them to stop saying such things, because he was not interested in any of them. Lena looked offended and asked him to explain what was wrong with them, because they were very beautiful and young girls. Lars quickly found the right words and answered that except for their appearance he was not satisfied with everything, especially their character and ability to manipulate people. The girls started to get indignant and said how could Lars treat them like that after they had tried to be nice. They had invited him back to the group, realizing how useful he could be to everyone. And Lars thought he was too independent and self-confident to turn down such a good offer. Tesla advised the guy to finish this stupid conversation, because it will not lead to anything good, so they should immediately take the treasure and leave this cave. But Rain intervened in the conversation and said that his team was the first to discover the treasure, and therefore they have every right to take it. But Tesla absolutely did not want to give up and explained to the impudent adventurer that the dragon's treasure is special, and only the one who defeated the dragon has the privilege to take it for himself. Rain replied that he had never heard of such rules and whether Tesla was going to take the treasure by force. Just at that moment, an unknown guy in black appeared from behind and started threatening the sorceress with a dagger. Lars decided to help Tesla, but his hands began to restrain Rira, who immediately explained that this guy Jekyll is a new member of the team and he is a master of disguise. Tesla only replied that she liked to use her power. Suddenly, huge stone hands appeared from the ground and instantly grabbed Jekyll and Rain and scared the silly girls. Tesla picked up Jekyll's knife and immediately sensed that this dagger was a poison dagger, and then confessed that she had never met a real killer before. Lars was frightened that the dagger she had sent could hurt himself badly, but Tesla told him not to worry, the witch had everything under control. Lars suddenly realized that his former friends could kill them at any moment and were most likely planning to ambush them and steal the treasure at an opportune moment. Tesla didn't comment on what was happening, because she had already realized it herself. Lars was even more saddened, for now he finally realized what terrible people he had been with for 3 years. Lars could not contain his emotions and hysterical laughter was supplemented by an uncontrollable flow of tears. Tesla, watching the guy, felt how bad he felt at this moment. Meanwhile, the former partners hurried to get away as far as possible, because their nefarious plan was defeated. But Tesla continued to control the huge stone golem, which obeyed the will of its master, instantly caught up with the fleeing girls and grabbed them. Tesla asked the guy what he wanted to do to his former partners, and now he could pay them back in full for how nasty they had treated him for a long time. Tesla even offered her help, because as it turned out they had a lot of ideas on how exactly to realize revenge. But Lars said that he did not want to waste time and energy on these pathetic people, who will find their own problems. Also, Lars partially admitted his guilt in what happened, because he was too stupid and gullible person, who should have realized much earlier who he was dealing with. Tesla disagreed with his student and explained that trusting people is not stupidity, but in fact it is a manifestation of kindness. Tesla told about how during the first meeting with Lars and she was primarily interested in the strong magical power that was hidden inside him. But now everything has changed a bit. The girl admitted that now she is very interested in Lars' ability to trust people, because such a feature is not available to every person. In fact, Tesla has always been afraid to communicate with other people, because she was not able to trust and it deprived her of many good emotions and impressions in life. Lars admitted that he was pleased to work together with Tesla, although he did not expect to be partnered with someone again. The way back to the city was very tiring, because the movement in an uncomfortable cart on an uneven road was very slow and monotonous. Tesla offered to rest while they had the chance, for it was obvious that Lars was very tired from his first assignment. The girl also explained that the treasure she had found was worth a lot of money, and Lars should decide how to spend it. Although personally she would recommend to start by buying good magical equipment. Lars decided that the important magic equipment was something like Tesla's staff. The girl confirmed that with such a magical item, one could control magical powers much easier. But then suddenly Tesla spoke of her desire to save up money and buy a house. It was a surprise for Lars, because such a topic of conversation seemed too personal. Barely restraining herself not to fall asleep, Tesla began to explain that her own house is necessary for rest and replenishment of magic, and this house will be a common home with Lars. The guy was incredibly embarrassed and wanted to clarify from Tesla what kind of house they were talking about, because it was too expensive, and they knew each other not so long ago. But the girl had already fallen asleep. In her dreams, Tesla saw how they lived together with Lars and enjoyed family life. The wagon continued to approach the city, and the tired Tesla did not hesitate to sleep on her student's lap. At the same time, Lars himself constantly felt excitement and embarrassment from such closeness with the girl. As the young sorceress stirred and moaned in her sleep, Lars' emotions only increased and he was certainly not resting. After a while, the wagon reached the city and stopped near the Magic Guild. Lars hurriedly woke Tesla and advised her to change her clothes, but as it turned out, waking a sleepy sorceress was not so easy. After Tesla woke up, they went to the Magic Guild and Lars immediately apologized to Michelle for being a little late. The guy cited Tesla's slowness, though she herself disagreed. Tesla then asked for a new raincoat to be issued and Michelle was horrified at the completely torn garment. Lars explained many dangerous situations had happened and he was just a burden to Tesla. Michelle showed sympathy and understanding and admitted that she felt sorry for Lars' former team. The guy himself explained that he wasn't sure exactly how to treat his former friends. Tesla could not keep silent and was outraged that Lars even calls those mean people his friends. But Lars was pleased that the guildmaster had promised him to seriously punish the Salty Wings team, but all to show leniency to them. After all, it was deserved for the people who had caused no small amount of trouble. Michelle then remembered the compensation due and the reward for completing the task. As it turned out, the found treasure was valued at 400 million ruts, and soon Lars and Tesla would receive the entire sum at once. Tesla was calm to such a sum, and Lars was shocked, because in the role of warrior adventurer he would not have earned such money in 100 years. Tesla explained to her student that due to his incredible strength he would be able to earn much more, and even more than the aristocratic families have. Lars was surprised, because he could not even imagine how huge this amount of money was, because with such money you could buy anything. Michelle agreed with Tesla and promised that Lars would really be able to reach the highest rank, and now thanks to his latest achievements he gets a yellow cloak and with it the rank E. Lars thanked for such a gift, because when he was a member of the Adventurers Guild it took him 6 months to reach rank E, but still the young wizard was in no hurry to put on his new cloak. Lars asked Michelle to keep the yellow cloak for a while, because he had just finished his first task and was not yet ready for a rank increase. Tesla advised not to be too modest, because it is quite normal to be proud of one's talents and achievements. Although of course a wizard who is modest and a robot has all chances to live much longer, because self-confident fools are not able to see the real danger and often such people die first. Lars explained that he still wants to continue wearing his white cloak, which he likes very much, and it would be better to fight in it, so as not to forget where he started his journey as a wizard. Michelle promised to discuss Lars' rank with the higher-ups, but for now he could continue to wear his white cloak, as he was the first to refuse a promotion. Tesla was not at all surprised by this decision of her student, and Lars thanked her for her help. After visiting the Magic Guild, Tesla finally felt better and stretched upwards in satisfaction. Lars felt awkward again because his gaze was fixed on the beautiful watermelons by the young sorceress. Then the guy shared his excitement about the huge amount of money, because he had with him 100 million worth of mithril, and the remaining 300 million he left on deposit. Tesla suggested that he go and buy magic items immediately, for that was the most important thing for a budding wizard. Lars decided that magic items are really very expensive things, and in this case he will definitely not have enough for a new house. But suddenly Tesla asked what kind of house we were talking about. Lars realized that the girl did not remember her story, because she was too tired and almost asleep. Tesla began to deny and convinced that she could not say that, but Lars reminded that all this happened during the return to the city, and the girl immediately blushed. Then the girl quietly asked him to give her some time to think about a house together. Lust was not persistent and agreed with Tesla. Walking around the city, Lars noticed absolutely unfamiliar places and asked the girl if she was sure that this was the place where the store of magic items was located. After a while, Lars and Tesla found themselves in a dead end, and it caused bewilderment to the boy. But the young sorceress gently tapped the ground with a magic staff, and at the same moment a secret passage downstairs opened. As it turned out, it was a secret entrance to the store of magic items, which contained a lot of rare and important things. Immediately, a nasty old woman who was the owner of this store appeared. The old woman immediately resented the fact that Tesla had not visited for too long and continued to lead an antisocial lifestyle. After all, such a beautiful girl should be charming and sociable. Tesla explained that she was perfectly content being who she was at the moment and didn't want to adjust to anyone. These words elicited a squeaky laugh from the old woman, which only exposed her lack of teeth. Then the shopkeeper took an interest in Lars, deciding that he was Tesla's boyfriend. But the young sorceress immediately explained that this guy was her new apprentice, and he had just recently joined the Magic Guild. Lars felt very awkward and hesitantly introduced himself. The shopkeeper introduced herself as Rudry and advised the young newcomer to be extremely respectful to her. Lars replied that it was a pleasure to meet her, and this elicited a laugh from the old woman, who complimented the lad on his uncommon politeness to wizards. Tesla explained to Rudry that they were here to buy magic items, and they were interested in special things that could control very strong magic. Rudry decided that Lars then had incredible magical powers since they needed just such a tool. Tesla explained that Lars' magic was much stronger than magical abilities. This immediately interested Rudry, who decided to take a closer look at the young wizard. The shopkeeper then offered many different high-ranked magical items. Rudry explained that these were items designed to control the flow of magical power, and before using them one should study them carefully. Lars looked at each item with interest, for he had never used such artifacts in his life. The young wizard tried on a few rings and admitted that all these magical items have absolutely no control over his internal energy. Tesla was surprised and then asked Rudry to bring something else important. Rudry was outraged and asked that if Tesla was asking to bring the moon ring. The young sorceress replied that in any case it was necessary to try to do it, because there was no other option. Lars, meanwhile waiting for the shopkeeper's return, began to go through other items and realized that they were still trying to control his flow of magic. But it was happening too weakly. After a few minutes, Rudry returned and offered to put on the ring that belonged to the first great sage. Lars was surprised to see such a precious thing. The boy asked if he could really wear something like that. The old woman stated that now it was Lars' turn, for many wizards had failed to curb his power, and this ring was incredibly valuable and powerful. Lars remembered that Michelle told him about the first great sage who had overcome adversity and founded a magic guild and was a legendary figure. Immediately after Lars put on this unique ring, he felt a strange sensation that he had never felt before in his life. Rudry noticed a strange glow around the ring and was also shocked. Lars gradually realized that his magical power was very calmly flowing through his entire body, and it was an amazing and even calming feeling. Rudry couldn't believe what she saw, because finally there was a person who could use the relic of the first great sage. Tesla was pleased with the result and reminded him once again that Lars' magical abilities were without a doubt at the platinum level. Rudry nearly fell out of her flying baby carriage with excitement and surprise. The wheezing old woman explained that wizards had a very long history, but few of them had ever reached the platinum level. And in any case, this young wizard would undoubtedly be of great help to the Magic Guild. Rudry confessed that she felt happy about being able to live long enough to meet someone worthy of becoming the next great sage. And now Lars will absolutely be able to reach the highest level with this unique ring. The most important thing is that he would always remain faithful to his endeavors and principles. Lars promised to always follow the right path. But then it came to money. Rudry, a greedy merchant, offered to buy Lars this magnificent ring for only 20 million ruts. This came as a complete surprise to Lars, for he had completely forgotten that he was in the store. The old shopkeeper explained that of course she was happy to help the great hero, but that business must not be forgotten. And just because Lars can use such a unique artifact, she is willing to offer a low price. Lars agreed with Rudry and thought that it was still a good thing that he took 100 million with him. After completing the transaction to buy the magic ring, the old mistress asked to wait for a while and handed a gift to the young wizard. The beautiful box contained a magical egg and Rudry asked to accept it. The old woman explained that to take care of the egg it would be enough just to give it some of her magic 3 times a day. And depending on the quality of the magic received, the type of creature born could vary. Lars and Tesla were delighted with the gift and wanted to find out as soon as possible what kind of creature would hatch. The old woman also wanted to see the result of the super strong magic on the egg, because the result could be unique and it would be worth the wait. Soon being back on the busy street, Lars was looking at the precious magic ring in daylight with interest. Tesla offered to continue the walk and buy some new clothes. Such a proposal surprised Lars, because he was quite satisfied with the clothes he already had. But Tesla pointed out some defects in the clothes, although Lars did not notice them and was satisfied with everything. Then Tesla confessed that she had wanted to go shopping and buy something new for a long time. Lars felt the sorceress squeeze his hand tightly and quickly pulled him along. Tesla hurried, quickly maneuvering between passers-by, and Lars didn't understand why she was in such a hurry, because the stores didn't close. After only half an hour, in the hands of Lars was already a whole bunch of different boxes with purchases, and the guy offered to pump. But Tesla only got into the taste and did not want to finish shopping at all. The young sorceress explained that she was not the kind of person who wanted something, but sometimes she really liked to shop impulsively. Lars was not surprised at all, because such actions are typical for many girls. Tesla, watching how hard it was for Lars to carry the huge boxes, said that it was actually a training of strength and balance. Lars had never heard a more stupid excuse, but still he did not say his thoughts out loud. After a while, the young wizard asked to take a short break because he was very thirsty. Nearby there was a convenient bench and a store with cool drinks. Having calmed down a bit, Tesla decided to try to talk about the house she kept dreaming about, even if she didn't admit it. The girl explained that in order to effectively regenerate magical power, it was quite normal for mages to live together in groups. Lars felt a sense of excitement, for being with someone close to him was now quite difficult. Tesla explained that she had always worked alone, so she didn't have the opportunity to live together and restore magical energy. But in any case, Lars should stop living in cheap housing and get a proper house. Lars immediately agreed to live together with Warm, although the guy thought how he could even say such a thing. The young sorceress decided that all her words sounded somehow stupid and absurd. Lars realized that the problem was that Tesla was a mentor for him. The girl reminded him that they weren't even on the same team. Tesla reminded about the end of the probation period, and if Lars wanted, they could of course form a group. Lars replied that that would be fine, and he was fine with Tesla always being a mentor to him. This seemed too problematic for Tesla, and she didn't want to stay in the same role all the time. The day after acquiring the moon ring that allowed Lars to control his magical powers, it was time to train with Tesla. Lars learned that wizards can use the 7 basic kinds of magic: fire, water, earth, wind, light, darkness, and one more kind not tied to an element. There is usually no universal knowledge, and wizards are free to choose which attribute they want to use. And apparently, for some unknown reason, magicians know what type of magic works best for them on an instinctive level. In addition to learning how to use magic, Lars also learned a lot of information about magic itself, famous wizards, and history. A month passed in this mode, and then Tesla took her student to a place that was the old training ground of the Mages Guild. Lars noticed Tesla's strange behavior that day. The sorceress explained that Lars' real training would begin from today, but first there was one condition to be remembered. The sorceress explained that since Lars had recently awakened his magical abilities, there was still a lot he didn't know. So it was important to understand as soon as possible what Lars wanted and how he was going to use his magic power. Lars didn't know the answer to this question, and the girl suggested to become a hero or even a great sage. But in any case, the main choice should be made by Lars himself. The guy admitted that he did not know what to become in this world. Tesla advised to approach seriously to this question and decided. And at the same time, Lars must understand the whole essence of the existence of a wizard. Tesla said that Lars as soon as possible to find out for himself the priorities in life and say what kind of wizard he wants to be. The girl explained that she had purposely placed various traps between this place and the goal at the end of the ruins, and one of her golems will be waiting at the finish line, so Lars has until he's defeated to figure out his desires. As soon as the boy made his first step, he immediately felt something crunch under his foot, and a second later the arrow point painfully struck his cheek. It became obvious to the young wizard that he could very easily die here if he was not very careful. Lars immediately applied magical body enhancement and decided that if Tesla believes that because of his power he will lose concentration, then it should not happen and nothing will stop him on the way to the goal. And in the end, the beautiful sorceress would get an answer with which she would be satisfied. Lars began to move very quickly, intending to overcome the dangerous area as soon as possible. But showing carelessness, the guy collapsed on the ground. The piercing whistle of the arrows was getting more and more annoying. But another unpleasant moment was a falling huge column, which hit the ground just a few centimeters from Lars. But despite all the danger of what was happening, the young wizard was glad, because so far he coped with all the traps on his way. Although he felt very tired even after the magical strengthening of his body, Lars was once again convinced of his poor physical fitness, and it was necessary to deal with this problem somehow. As a result, Lars decided to try to destroy all the traps on his way before they were activated. The wizard decided to try and summon a flaming sword to his aid. While doing so, realizing that using a large amount of magic activated the moon ring. The ring could sense the amount of magical power that Lars could control in his body, and therefore needed to concentrate as much as possible to get results. A few seconds later, there was a cracking sound in the air, and after that, razor-sharp shards rushed downwards at a tremendous speed. Lars began to move very quickly, trying to dodge the deadly projectiles, for he had never before encountered such a trap that attacked from the sky. The sharp magical projectiles were coming from a strange element that hung high above the ground. Lars decided to immediately destroy the source of danger and dodged the attacks and rushed forward. Thanks to the strongest blow with a fire sword, the young wizard managed to destroy the source of danger, which shattered into many fragments. Meanwhile, Tesla carefully watched what was happening and assessed the abilities of her student. Of course, the young sorceress was worried, but she was at a safe distance and could only wait for the results that Lars would demonstrate. Lars almost immediately faced another trap that tried to block him, and then the huge walls could crush him on the spot. But Lars, thanks to his magic weapon, was able to break all the obstacles and suddenly noticed in the sky again a mysterious object that attacked him earlier. The guy, sensing the approach of the magical arrows, jumped aside and saved himself. Lars was outraged at how easy it was for the traps to determine his exact location, and there were more and more of them every second. But this time the mysterious objects in the sky did not attack at once, but as if they were waiting for some action from the wizard. Lars guessed that the objects attacked him only in those moments when he used his magic powers. Lars decided to test his theory in practice and activated his fire sword. Everything turned out to be correct, and instantly a lot of deadly projectiles rushed. The young wizard began to repel them with his magic sword and realized the principle of traps. All these magic traps were not aimed at him, and they are able to bind themselves to high-level magic and target it when detected. Lars decided to try to use the return of power to the source, because this way he could destroy all the traps at the same time. This strategy implied a powerful magical strike from Lars' side simultaneously on all the magic traps, which should not be able to withstand such a strain. At the same time, it was not worth forgetting the normal physical traps that were still activated while Lars was moving. It was also unclear if magic could be used to detect other magic. Everything that was happening was becoming interesting to the young wizard, because he had not even known that magic could be used in such a way before. Lars was once again convinced that his beautiful mentor was an incredible person, because it was amazing how she was able to set all these traps alone. Having overcome the whole dangerous route, Lars decided that the main goal must be somewhere near, and now it remains only to wait for the golem to appear. The young wizard scrutinized the area around him, but he could not imagine that a huge soulless creature would appear from under the ground. In a split second, the golem's huge hands closed, intending to destroy Lars, but the boy showed miracles of reaction and was able to avoid the deadly attack. The golem turned out to be another trap, which was also masterfully disguised and was a surprise for the guy. Lars instantly created a magical fireball and attacked the huge creature, after which there was a terrible explosion and atomized the golem into millions of pieces. Lars decided that the most important thing would be to find the source of the magic, because if he could cut it off, then it would allow him to protect himself. But as it turned out, the source of magic influence was Tesla, and Lars of course did not attack the girl, but only touched her head. The girl explained that the light from Lars' magic sword was closer to gold than to the color of the flame, and this was proof of the purity of his magical powers. The young wizard was pleased with the result, for he was able to overcome all the tricky traps and pass this test. Then Tesla repeated her question about the true goal of Lars. It was necessary to find out whether he wanted to become a great sage in the end. But the young wizard replied that such a great and difficult goal did not interest him too much. Lars explained that at the moment he wanted to encounter many different kinds of magic and wizards. While this is certainly not the answer Tesla expected to hear, it is indeed the path one wants to take. Lars stated, right now the most important goal for him is to surpass Tesla and all the other S-ranked wizards. Tesla explained that if Lars really wanted to surpass all the best members of the Magic Guild, then that would put him on par with the Great Sage, which meant that any aspirations he had would still lead to the same result, and it would be foolish not to realize that. Lars then asked his sorceress to use healing magic on him, for he had hurt himself quite badly while going through this task. But Tesla admitted that her healing magic abilities were at an extremely low level. The group of heavily laden men continued their tiring trek. One of the boys suggested that Sheila stop and rest for a while, but the determined girl said that she was alright and that she had to hurry, for the reinforcements were expected long ago. Sheila had a bad feeling about this journey and decided that she owed it to the rest of the group to share her concerns. Meanwhile, in the woods surrounding the city of Acro, Lars and Tesla continued their lessons on the training ground. The girl carefully watched her student's every move and corrected him if he failed. Tesla advised to start by slowly lowering her flaming sword and then visualizing the weapon staying in its place. Lars was shocked at how his fire sword levitated without his influence. This was proving to be a real success for the young wizard, and he was savoring every accomplishment. Although 10 days earlier, Lars had been very bad at even summoning this magical sword, and Tesla was not happy with the result of his training. This time the young sorceress asked her student to try to summon another sword in order to move to the next level of his magical abilities. Lars did not expect such a thing at all and asked the girl if she really wanted to make him a two-handed warrior. But Tesla advised him not to be distracted by the conversation and to focus on his magical power. Then the beautiful mentor eventually asked to summon 3 fire swords at once. Tesla explained that one of the S-rank wizards, whom Lars intended to surpass Lut the Scarlet Knight, was capable of summoning 10 fire swords simultaneously. Lars was surprised, for such a thing was impossible. It had taken him a lot of effort and training to learn to control even one sword, and now he had barely increased the number of fire swords to 3. Tesla had explained that the fire sword was a short-range magic, and unless one could master such an ability at a mastery level, it would never be anything more than a beginner's spell. However, if Lars could summon huge amounts of fireballs as a Luff mage, then it would then become an intermediate or even advanced magic. Lars was inspired by the possibility of mastering advanced magic, but didn't understand how Lute was able to master such a huge number of fireballs at once. The beautiful mentor explained that Lute did it with the ability to control the swords at a distance. After all, they levitate in the air on their own and do not need to be held. Therefore, the main factor in mastering this skill is the ability to make the fire swords fly. Lars tried his best, and Tesla told him that to begin with, he needed to concentrate and simply visualize the fire sword growing wings as if it were flying. In this way, you can turn short-range magic into long-range magic and gain an advantage in battle. Lars concentrated his magical powers as much as possible and asked the fire sword to become a bird that flutters in the sky. Gradually, the young wizard felt control over the magic sword and he liked it. Lars ordered the fire blade to fly as high as possible and pierce the sky. After that, an incredible thing happened. The fire blade magically transformed into a real fire bird of enormous size. But then the winged fire creature dissipated and disappeared. Tesla was upset with this result and explained that if Lars was unable to hold his sword, there was no point in this training. The boy was not pleased with himself and apologized for this result. The young enchantress suggested taking a short break to try to regain Lars' concentration, because maybe his fatigue was affecting his ability to control his magic powers. The place for rest was the central library of the city of Accra, which boasted an incredible selection of books, and was comparable to the Royal Library, the largest library in the kingdom. Lars immediately found a book that had detailed information about the Scarlet Knight Luff. This illustrious S-rank wizard specialized in fire magic and was a member of the Royal Mage Guild. As it turned out, not many people had seen his true face, but they wrote about him a lot in various books. The head of the library noticed how Lars was interested in the closed door and explained that this door led to a special room and it was closed to ordinary visitors. The boy immediately apologized, for he had not expected that this library had such a room with forbidden magic. But suddenly from around the corner Sheila pounced on the young wizard and knocked him off his feet. The stranger was very excited and immediately stated that she was in a hurry on important business, and then accidentally ran into Lars. Sheila asked if Lars was alright and apologized for such an unexpected appearance. The young wizard answered that he was fine and asked the girl to get off him. Then the guy saw Sheila's bloody hand, but the girl asked not to worry, saying that it was just a scratch. But the wound was much more serious than it seemed at first glance, and Lars immediately applied a bandage trying to stop the heavy bleeding. Then the young wizard advised the stranger to seek a doctor's help as soon as possible, so that it would not cause infection and complications. But then Sheila thanked Lars for his help and headed for the entrance to the forbidden room. Lars tried to talk the girl out of it, but Sheila gestured for her to keep quiet. After that, the beautiful stranger used her magic powers and began to teleport. The disappearance of the girl looked incredible, and Lars even thought that maybe it was some kind of ghost. But then he remembered the elastic body of the stranger and decided that she was real. After his visit to the library, Lars continued to think about the strange girl. Even though he bumped into the stranger and even fell, he still wasn't entirely sure that this girl was real, for too much turned out to be strange in this encounter. As a result, the young wizard decided to warm up a bit before his morning workout and jog around the city wall, for it would allow him to distract himself and gradually strengthen the physical state of his body. After a while, Lars stopped to take a break and heard strange sounds and decided to check what was going on nearby. Looking out from behind the bushes, the wizard was surprised to see a beautiful girl practicing with a sword. The mysterious stranger was so fast that Lars could not keep track of her movements, and the number of swings of the blade literally amazed the imagination. But as it turned out, the stranger had already noticed the peeping guy and said that it was very impolite to do such things, and if he was interested in the sword, he could just ask. After a few seconds, the mysterious swordswoman tossed Lars her wooden blade, which was very heavy. The girl explained that although this sword looked like an ordinary wooden sword, it was actually made of lead. The mysterious girl stated that by repeating 10,000 swings a day, Lars could become much stronger. Such amount of exercises shocked the young wizard, because at the moment it was even difficult for him to hold this heavy blade in his hands. But despite this, Lars tried to repeat the girl's movement and swung the blade several times. It turned out to be incredibly difficult, and the guy admitted that it was too hard for him to exercise with this blade. After the meeting with the mysterious swordswoman, Lars returned to his place of residence in the hotel with the black cat and decided that the training had been great, and today was full of meetings with strange girls. All these mysterious strangers seemed somehow elusive and reminded him a lot of Tesla. Having rested a little, Lars met his beautiful mentor in the night, and together they started practicing again to master the control of the magic sword. This time the young wizard managed to make the fire sword move on an incredible trajectory, and finally it exploded high in the sky. This result upset Lars again, because he had hoped to make the fire blade levitate and obey. But Tesla explained that Lars's magic control looked much better, but still he was trying too hard and worried during the training. So you don't have to think about the speed of the blade, but just focus on the trajectory of the blade. And if one learns how to do that, the fire blade will head in the right direction. Suddenly, spatial transmission magic appeared nearby, and it surprised the young sorceress, who waited with interest for the result of this effect. After a few seconds, a message appeared, and Tesla quickly read it and said that they were immediately going to the Magic Guild, because someone important had returned. Lars soon found himself in the Magic Guild and noticed that it was much more crowded than usual. Tesla explained that Sheila, who is the Magic Guild's expert on ancient magical literature, had recently returned from the ancient ruins, and now she is about to give her research report, and that's why so many people have gathered here. It is also very likely that Sheila has brought magical artifacts for evaluation, and so about half of the wizards here hope to take these artifacts for themselves, while the rest will just watch and listen with curiosity to the report about the adventures in the ancient ruins. Lars noticed Tesla's strange behavior and said that he had never seen her so happy before, which means she intends to get some interesting artifact. The beautiful sorceress explained that she was very much hoping to get the spellbook, and the bidding would begin as soon as the artifacts were appraised. Tesla admitted that she had set aside 2 billion ruts for the sake of this purchase. Such an amount made Lars feel dizzy and dry in his mouth, for he had never seen such a huge amount of money before. Then the young wizard turned his attention to the mages present, who were dressed in magnificent custom-made capes. Lars asked if Tesla would bargain with these rich people, but the girl explained that these people will just watch what is happening, because they are most interested in some new jewelry, not ancient artifacts. Tesla pointed to a strange man in a dark cloak and who was lurking in the shadows, because he was the one who was not a cause for concern, since she had lost to him at the previous auction. Lars did recognize that this man looked mysterious, and one could not tell how much of a force he was. As it turned out, the wait dragged on and Tesla began to worry, for Sheila was apparently running late. Then suddenly the beautiful mentor ordered Lars to follow her. The boy thought that Tesla had given up bidding after all, but the girl explained that she was hungry and they had until noon, when Sheila would show up. Tesla explained that it had been forever since Sheila's last report, and she was really looking forward to her appearance. But since she was late, there was no point in just sitting around waiting for her. But suddenly an excited and noisy girl came rushing down the street and immediately spotted Tesla. Sheila said that she was looking for Tesla everywhere, and therefore she should immediately follow her, because something very terrible was about to happen. Tesla tried to calm the girl down, but it was nearly impossible. Sheila explained that she was off to explore the ancient ruins of Wega, and this wouldn't have happened if she had formed a normal group. Sheila kept getting very agitated and was losing the gist of the conversation, so Tesla asked to start over and explain the problem. But suddenly the girl's conversation was interrupted by a terrifying blast wave that raised a huge amount of dust and splinters. Huge in its destructiveness, explosion occurred in the Magic Guild, where Tesla and Lars were recently. Terrible explosion shocked the locals and of course Lars and the girls, because everyone realized that if they were inside, then perhaps they would have already died. Tesla and Sheila were horrified by what they saw, because their whole lives were connected with the Magic Guild. What happened could not be explained, and the locals hurried to find out what exactly happened and possibly help the survivors of the explosion. And 2 sorceresses remained to watch the burning building. Meanwhile, inside the Magic Guild reigned real horror and chaos. Wizards who could move independently rushed to help their colleagues by setting healing spells on them. The infirmary was quickly overcrowded and the wounded began to be distributed among the available rooms in the West Wing. It also turned out that the stairs to the basement had been collapsed in the explosion, and there might be a few more wounded wizards downstairs. But suddenly the wizards were attacked by a monster, and this only made an already desperate situation worse. Some wizards were able to orient themselves in time and fight back the ferocious monsters, but so far they could not figure out the reason for such a swift attack. The sudden attack was repulsed, and one of the wizards ordered everyone to leave the guild immediately and head to the safer west wing. But in the meantime, he decided to check for monsters. Surveying the area of the destroyed room, the wizard found shards of the floor with hieroglyphics of summoning magic, and it raised many questions. In the west wing of the Magic Guild, there was a meeting of the guild leaders, where it turned out that including all wizards and characters, there were more than 100 wounded, and half of the building was in ruins. This caused serious discussion, as such destruction had never happened before. One of the magicians said that some action should be taken immediately, and it would be the right decision to seek help from the main office in the kingdom's capital. But many magicians were against this, for in this way they would embarrass the branch of their city. Some magicians offered to deal with the problem themselves and inform everyone that there had been an accident. But for the rest of the wizards it sounded like foolishness, because it was impossible to hide such destruction, as well as a huge number of victims. To begin with, it was suggested to survey the area and identify the causes of the terrible explosion, because when the inspection arrives from the capital of the kingdom, we'll need to show some explanations. In the end, the head of the branch of the Magic Guild in the city of Ark, Mr. Galler, asked everyone to shut up, and then explained that all of them had devoted many years to protecting citizens from external threats. However, during this attack, they failed to achieve their main goal and harmed the citizens of their hometown. And if everyone was to stay in the guild now and do nothing but idle chatter, the power and influence accumulated by generations of sages would be wasted. Mr. Galler demanded to immediately gather all the wizards who can stand on their feet, and then decide on the next steps. The most important thing was to create a strong group as soon as possible and deal with the enemy who had attacked so treacherously. Sheila was in the central hall of the Magic Guild at this moment and was just sitting and thinking about what had happened. Lars noticed the girl's overly pale appearance and decided that her arm was still hurting badly. Sheila, of course, recognized the guy she ran into in the library, and admitted that she was surprised to find out that he was a wizard too, and then apologized for making Lars worry. The guy regretted that he couldn't use healing magic and only changed the bandage on the girl's arm. Lars said that they were very lucky, because they were outside the Magic Guild at the time of the explosion, because as it turned out the wizards inside could not do anything. Then the guy noticed Tesla's jealous look and immediately took his hands off Sheila. The young wizard immediately explained that it wasn't what his mentor thought and he only wanted to help Sheila. Meanwhile, Mr. Galler turned to all the wizards who could stand on their feet and explained that he would be in full command of the Magic Guild for a while. Mr. Galler stated that first of all a squad should be formed to hunt down the enemy, and those who were confident in their abilities should step forward. Almost everyone in the huge room expressed a desire to fulfill this dangerous task. Lars also decided to join the main group and punish the enemy for attacking the guild. The city mayor asked Galler if he really knew who was behind the attack on the Magic Guild since he was going to organize a tracking mission. Galler confirmed to the mayor his intentions. Mr. Galler then exclaimed that right now, right here in the presence of everyone from the newcomers to the mayor of the city, he would tell the information that must not leave this room. Mr. Galler then offered to look at the part of the summoning circle that they had found on the floor of the guild hall, for it was the main evidence in this crime. Galler explained that the enemy had most likely entered several rooms containing magical barrier stones and formed a summoning circle right on the floor of the room. And in all likelihood the summoning was used to destroy the magic stones, and then the enemy organized a magic attack to escape from the guild. From all this, it could be deduced that the enemy was not only a wizard, but also a member of the Magic Guild who took advantage of his position for this surprise attack. Lars was incredibly surprised, for he absolutely could not have thought one of the wizards of the guild is a traitor. Many wizards did not believe in the betrayal of a member of the Magic Guild and asked Mr. Galler, because it was unclear why to do such a thing at all. The arguments continued and the room became very noisy again. But suddenly an excited Sheila said that she probably knew who could be the traitor. Galler asked the girl to think carefully about her words and to give her guess. Sheila told of how she had been attacked on her way back after exploring ancient ruins with her group, during which the attackers had managed to steal a rare artifact. Sheila admitted that she was too focused on the results of the research to notice the attackers in time, and by the time she sensed their presence it was too late. And the magic that was felt during the attack on the group was similar to the magic used to attack a magic guild. The girl then displayed the mysterious object and explained that she had found it after she woke up from the attack. Mr. Galler exclaimed that it was a pentagram, which was the sign of black magicians. All of this angered the wizards, who realized that all of this could lead to huge problems. Lars noticed the excitement of Tesla, who was trembling at that moment because she now realized what Sheila wanted to warn her about on the street. Lars had never seen his mentor in such a state before, for Tesla really looked very scared and confused. The girl apologized to Lars, but the guy decided to smile back and asked her not to worry about anything. Lars was very interested to see his mentor from a new side. After all, she was not as unshakable as she seemed at once. Tesla asked Sheila what kind of ancient artifact had been stolen by the attackers of her group. As it turned out, the representative of Black Wizards stole an ancient magic book, which Tesla wanted to buy at the auction. Sheila explained that it seemed to her quite suspicious to kidnap this particular magical book, because it was difficult to decipher, and for this reason she went to the forbidden area of the library to find clues. But in the end, nothing could be found out. Now Lars understood why the girl was in the library and was so excited during their meeting. Mr. Gallen reminded him that the forbidden area of the library was not closed easily, and the girl immediately apologized for her action. Sheila promised to accept any punishment, but first she needed to use all her abilities and powers to retrieve that magical book. The girl asked to be allowed to join the group and help in the search. Tesla also decided to join the others, for she wanted to get this book and had returned to the Magic Guild just for it. Lars once again saw a confident mentor who was ready to face any danger. Mr. Gallen meanwhile pondered that it was a great idea to enlist the help of the S-rank prodigy Tesla as well as Sheila the talented sorceress, and thanked the girls for their agreement to help. The head of the Magic Guild stated that everything would now fall into place because after stealing that magic book, the Black Wizard had attacked the Magic Guild to stop Sheila from pursuing him. Gallen said that whoever dares to undertake this dangerous task will receive a special reward, and if there are volunteers, it's time to prove yourself. Many of those present thought about their decision, because they all realized that meeting with Black Wizards could end in death. Lars also pondered and thought about what he should do in this situation. Lars was surprised by the behavior of the wizards, because only a few minutes ago they were full of determination. But now they were bound by terror and fear. Most of the wizards had decided that they were too low ranked for such a super dangerous task and therefore would not be able to join the search party. Lars was curious to find out exactly what this mysterious black wizard was that had so terrified the members of the Magic Guild. As a result, one of the girls present approached the head of the Magic Guild and expressed her desire to participate in this task. As it turned out, it was the same girl who was a master of the blade and asked to allow her to show her skill during the destruction of the Black Wizard. Sheila was happy when she saw this girl named Tsubaka. Lars was surprised at this sudden appearance of this mysterious girl with a blade. Mr. Galler understood that these three girls were all powerful sorceresses and usually worked alone, but if they formed a group, it would greatly increase the chances of success. The head of the guild agreed to this decision and then announced that all the other wizards would take turns defending the main hall of the guild. Galler ordered everyone to use their skills and put all of their abilities into recovery. Tsubaka meanwhile explained that her words might not seem too appropriate, but she was really happy to see Sheila and Tesla again after so many years apart. Sheila also admitted that she was glad to see them again, because she never expected the three of them to be able to form a group, and she wondered how strong they would be during this mission. The girls began to discuss their abilities and each wanted to brag about their achievements. Lars was trying to figure out whether these girls were friends or rivals. Then Tsubika turned her attention to the young wizard and greeted the boy. Tesla was surprised that Tsubika and Lars already knew each other, as her student had not told her about such an acquaintance. Tsubika explained to Tesla that she and Lars had a wonderful training session together, which she wouldn't mind repeating a few more times. Sheila, in turn, told about meeting the guy in the library, and it all made Lars too embarrassed, because it all seemed too awkward to him. Tesla then explained that the guy was her student and he would also be joining their group, and his magical abilities would surprise all the wizards present. Sheila and Tsubika were surprised to learn that such a guy was Tesla's student, because she had always been alone and never wanted to form a group. Lars realized at this moment that all these three sorceresses are the strongest in the city, and so he needs to do everything not to pull them down during the task. After all, it is important to do this not only for the sorceress's sake, but also for the sake of all the people of the town who are in danger. The young wizard decided to do everything possible not to let the black magicians feel unpunished and commit new crimes. The three beautiful sorceresses were enjoying the hot bath and recovering their magical powers. Sheila wanted to leave the hot water, but Tsukuba girl didn't cheat because she had spent too much magical power and shouldn't get out of the water until she fully recovered. Tsukuba then asked Tesla why she had taken Lars as a student at all, because they were very interested with Sheila to know the reason for this decision. After all, Tesla always acted alone and never wanted to cooperate in a group. Tesla thought a little and admitted that at some point she was just curious to be around someone and show her skills as a teacher. Sheila immediately laughed and declared that Tesla, who had vowed not to get a boyfriend, had finally fallen in love and her heart had melted. But Tesla replied that she had no sincere feelings for this guy because she was interested in Lars' magical potential, which turned out to be incredibly high. Sheila was a little upset when she heard such motives from Tesla because if she really fell in love with Lars, then she could help her in this case. But Tesla only blushed even more and hesitantly replied that she wasn't interested in Lars as a boyfriend at all. Tsukuba explained that the young man was really good with people and Tesla could probably feel her problems diminishing when she was around Lars. Tesla agreed and admitted that she does feel much better and calmer when her student is around her. Sheila exclaimed that it was definitely love and laughed happily. This reaction of the sorceress caused embarrassment and envy among the girls. Sheila promised to be sure to get Lars' attention if they didn't want to be together with him. The next morning the team got ready to start their dangerous mission. Lars took a long time to gather all the necessary things and apologized for being late, because the girls were already ready and waiting for him. Sheila advised the young wizard not to worry, for they had just arrived. Then the girl explained that they were bathing in the magic pool to restore mana and it took a very long time. The sorceresses were surprised at the huge amount of luggage Lars had taken with him. The young wizard explained that none of them knew how long it would take to find the criminal who had destroyed the magic guild and attacked Sheila's group, and if they had to set up a temporary camp somewhere, it would be best to make everyone feel comfortable. The girls praised Lars for his resourcefulness and foresight. Sheila said that she had never encountered such far-sighted thinking before and it was a great indicator for a novice wizard. Then the sorceresses noticed Lars' excitement and his heavily flushed face. The boy explained that he was actually very worried, because he had never been in such a specific team before. Sheila decided to calm him down and grabbed his hand, reminding him that they used to communicate normally when he helped her to heal her wound. But the touch of a beautiful girl made Lars even more anxious, because the young body could not cope with the tension caused by intimacy with beautiful girls. Lars finally admitted that he was very shy to work in a group like this, because he had worked in a team of 4 before and that experience had been terrible, and maybe it was affecting his attitude. Tsukuba asked Sheila not to worry Lars, as he was already having trouble calming down. Tsukuba then advised the young wizard to calm down and not worry about the disparity between his skills and the others, and it would be enough for him to act at his own pace. Sheila apologized for her behavior and suggested to approach any problem leisurely so as not to worry. Lars thanked the girls for their understanding and promised to get a grip on his emotions. Then Tesla offered not to waste time and set off, and after that she started to create a strong and light boat for the whole team. In a few minutes, thanks to her magical abilities, the girl created a magnificent boat that was perfect for the 4 members of the team. Lars was surprised, because he didn't expect that they would have to chase the enemy on a boat. Especially they do not know in which direction the black wizard went. Tesla replied that she was sure that the enemy had gone north. The girl explained that according to her calculations, the black wizard can't use traveling magic, so he must have escaped from the magic guild on foot, taking advantage of the panic and confusion caused by the explosion. In this case, the wizard who committed the crime will have to take the shortest route to leave the kingdom, so the black wizard would use the boat to escape along the river in a northerly direction. Tesla explained that before the river Judy's there is a huge valley Arbos, and it is in this place they can intercept the enemy, if not delayed during the journey. Lars had heard of this place called a dungeon, for when he was an adventurous warrior he had been told that a man of low level would never return from those dangerous places. But Tesla finished with her calculations, suggested not to worry and immediately take seats in the boat. Tsukuba and Sheila followed Tesla's advice, for her accurate calculations inspired confidence, and Lars tried to quickly load all his huge luggage. Such a journey by boat was the first in the young wizard's life and he was worried. But Tesla advised not to worry, because her boat flies perfectly, although during the movement it sometimes shakes and you still need to hold on tightly to avoid falling out. So the new team set off on an incredible adventure hoping to find and punish the black wizard.